good in this world, Christopher. And it's worth fighting for.
$1 billion can buy a lot of things: sets, music, ads, CGI, costumes and gear. It can't buy a moral compass, and it can't buy a soul. A fortune won't make Rings of Power anything else than an empty mystery box. The best stories humans have created rely on a theme, moral questions, as the backbone of the narrative. A theme would be the result of the story asking questions to the characters. A fiction without a theme still has a story, but would ask all of its questions to the plot. House of the Dragon, for example, rests on the conflict between duty and family. Amazon Prime's The Boys is about how far are you willing to go to achieve justice, and whether or not vengeance is a form of retribution. And Peter Jackson's movie trilogy portrays what it means to sacrifice your goals, your sanity, and your life for the greater good. The director knew how important a theme was. Professor Tolkien also respected the significance of moral dilemmas. His books and stories sustained themselves on a deeper understanding of human values against the backdrop of epic conflicts. A theme makes a narrative complete by helping it talk to you on a superficial level and in more profound ways. Why then is Rings of Power so shallow? Why does it feel so generic? It's because Rings of Power has nothing to say. How could it be a medieval fantasy inspired by Tolkien when it's not trying to say any of the messages Tolkien included in his legendarium? Rather than asking the characters to face moral challenges, we only get queries to the plot. Where is Sauron? Who is Halbrand? Who is Adar? What is this box? What is this mark? None of this matters, as every answer will dilute itself into binary options and big-budget action sequences.
Superhero landing!
These mysteries can make people talk, but once they reveal their hand, the show will lack further thought-provoking ideas, ethical dilemmas, and conflicts. It doesn't have a theme, so it lacks a substance. A story is the overall narrative that takes characters from point A to point B. The plot is the sequence of events that lead to that purpose. Together, these two elements produce character development as a reflection or a consequence of the theme. There's often a core main moral subject and various secondary messages around. The more complex a character is, the more it can explore these concepts. The writers can summarize the theme in a single sentence, but the viewers may only see it subconsciously. When a show lacks substance, there is no such sentence, no perspective, and nothing to guide the story and the characters. In return, we get placeholders that will react to the plot in similar ways all of the time. A single characteristic will guide how they act, and they won't have to make any real decisions at any point of the story. The first 2 episodes of Rings of Power are slow and straightforward. Characters tell you exactly what they want and what they are doing. She's Galadriel, she's looking for Sauron because she wants vengeance. He's Celebrimbor, he wants to build a forge because he wants to build something amazing. Or he's Arondir, he wants to protect Bronwyn because he's in love. The 3rd episode has the glimmer of a conflict, but the writers solve it by making the characters outright assholes. The Harfoots have strict rules that make me question how they have survived this long. They will leave behind another Harfoot who helps an outsider. During a migration, they will abandon those who can't keep up. Wounded, sick, pregnant, tired, it doesn't matter. That is the rule, that is what the leader says, and that tells us exactly what will happen. Wouldn't it be more interesting if the rule didn't exist? Imagine they are in the migration, helping each other, and not leaving anyone behind like the supposedly kind proto-hobbits they are. The travel becomes harder, slower, and noisier, so an enemy finds them. What should they do? Stand together and fall, or survive by letting the weak die?
Bitch, please!
No, leave them behind, and also make Nori's loyal best friend an orphan, so she has no option but to stay to help them.
I need you on my side.
And so clan psychopaths leave their kin behind and laugh at someone who died to
Notice
peace.
you haven't shot me in the face! Curious as to what—
Brothers at arms abandon each other. Heroes leave their loved ones alone in dangerous situations. The commander, take me to the manager, threatens everyone with murder. Elves are racist against humans, and girls treat their fathers like shit.
How dare you!
Who would have known? A story without a moral compass or messages also features twisted morals on the hero's side. What is even going on? I'll tell you. This is generic storytelling. Writers with poor experience have trouble merging a story with a theme. When that happens, writers also portray obviously bad morals, choices, and actions in a good light. The two issues stem from the same core, the lack of an overall purpose other than simply getting characters from point A to point B. Instead of purpose, the show gives us suspense. All of the questions are to the plot. It's the so-called mystery box director J.J. Abrams made popular in The Force Awakens. Who is Sauron and where is he? But before we can answer that, who is the stranger and what does he want? But before we can answer that, who is Halbrand and will he become a discount Aragorn? But before we can answer who is Adar and what does he want? But before we can answer what is happening on Numenor and what is the Queen plotting? But before we can answer why didn't Numenor just behead Galadriel for being such an asshole? If you've been paying attention to entertainment so far, you probably know mystery boxes don't always offer solutions. Sometimes the plot throws them aside, forgets about them, or retcons situations. We already saw a retcon. First, this was a mark of Sauron, and then it's a map. It makes no sense because the mystery box is often empty. It's there to tease you, but it contains no compelling answers, situations, or messages. But the problem goes deeper than changing morals and themes for mysteries, you see? There's a drift between Amazon's writers and Tolkien's worldview. Tolkien was a Christian. Middle-earth stories are full of Christian allegories. Its biggest idea defines evil as deviating oneself from God. Today's Hollywood is atheist, amoral, and politically biased to the left. It's like they are not allowed to use Tolkien's ideas, and without the professor's concepts, what are we to receive but a generic tale of superheroes defeating villains? For example, the Fellowship of the Ring starts by presenting the idyllic Shire than the hobbits. These little creatures are happier than any other race on Middle-earth. They know nothing about the outside world or the war, and they live in the last bubble of peace remaining on the continent. And yet Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin depart with the ring. They take a massive responsibility they found by accident to help a world they barely know, full of races they haven't seen. The message and purpose of true and selfless heroism presents itself in the other characters. Characters act according to their beliefs and ability to resist corruption and temptation. On top of this, there are also divine concepts like fate, heaven, resurrection, redemption, punishment, and repentance. Tolkien's Second Age digs deeper into divine concepts. Elves feel the mortality of Middle-earth as a weight they can't bear. They can't return to heaven, Valinor, and they are restless. Sauron is aware of their desire for deathlessness and uses it to trick the elves into creating the Rings of Power. At the same time, Sauron was aware of the Númenóreans' great sense of pride. With the power of the One Ring, he turned their pride into lust for power and immortality. God, Eru Ilúvatar, punished Númenor for turning their back on him by sinking the island into the sea. Just like corruption led to the downfall of the greatest human kingdom, in the end it caused Sauron's destruction. It was because Frodo and Gollum fought for the ring in Mount Doom that it fell into the fire. The show about the origins of the One Ring and the Rings of Power has none of this. There are no messages, no morals, no heroes, and no talk about temptation or corruption. All that remains is light references that non-book readers wouldn't understand.
They say that Morgoth found the Silmarils so beautiful.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that?
I'm sorry.
In summary, the Amazon Prime series doesn't have the substance of good storytelling. Will to inspire and make you ponder. Storytelling has existed since before humans could write, read or talk. Around 65,000 years ago, our ancestors painted on rock and wood their fantasies, adventures and discoveries. These were stories, and these stories didn't have the purpose of entertaining those who listened. They were there to teach and pass down knowledge from generation to generation. Across thousands of years, the format for stories evolved. Ancient writers, poets, and philosophers discovered that the best way to pass down knowledge was by making immersive and inspiring narratives. If the reader can transport himself into the world, he or she can better understand what the narrative is trying to say. In the 7th century before Christ, the Odyssey by Homer shared the epic journey of Ulysses. Every adventure he had and all of his decisions were but a reflection of the themes in the book. It's lessons about loyalty, hospitality, perseverance, and spiritual growth. The theme presented itself in the choices Ulysses had to make. Should he chain himself to the mast of the ship to listen to the sirens, or leave the temptation behind, forever wondering what he could have discovered and enjoyed? The Odyssey and the Iliad are the cradles of modern fantasy. Without them, writers like Tolkien would probably not exist. Tolkien's main inspiration, Beowulf, would also not exist. This is an Old English poem dating back to the 11th century. It follows a great Germanic hero in a tale about bravery and sacrifice. The poem inspired Tolkien enough to write an English translation. Then, Tolkien inspired worldwide readers with the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit. Tolkien's son, Christopher Tolkien, continued the job by finishing and publishing The Silmarillion and many other books that helped us understand the author's vision. You tell me, will Rings of Power inspire you, make you talk, think, reflect, or consider anything? Are the mysteries worthwhile, or will they have obvious binary answers? If not, you could say it's generic and forgettable. What do you think? Leave your comments down below and keep the section
Civilized.
And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and like so you can find my content easily. I'm posting every week or so. Thanks for watching.
After Amazon got involved in this project, my son came up to me one day. He looked me in the eyes very sincerely, and he said, "Dad, please don't F this up."